Should you buy Marvel's Avengers in 2021? Marvel's Avengers is one of the most confusing and generic games I've played in a while. Billion-dollar IP developed into a video game could have been massive, but at launch, Avengers was a mess. But has Marvel's Avengers improved over the last year and worth your money in 2021? Now, I managed to play a decent chunk of the game during its free weekend, and I've already came to a conclusion, so let's get into this. Leave your comments down below on how you feel about Avengers. I would love to chat to you all about it. Let's start with the narrative and some gameplay thoughts without spoilers. Marvel's Avengers tells a very basic coming-of-age story focused on Kamala Khan, and well, straight away you are thinking, why am I playing as this character when I just booted up Marvel's Avengers? I mean, look at the cover. That sentence can sum up the campaign portion of the game quite well. There are various missions with different heroes that do let you play as the actual Avengers, but the story is heavily focused on Kamala Khan, and while narratively it wasn't what I wanted, did the gameplay help that disappointment? Not really. Kamala is basically Mr. Fantastic, and it really isn't all that interesting. You have various abilities, but this stuff has all been done before through various other games, going as far back as the original Fantastic Four game back on PS2, which by the way, I think is quite underrated. I quite enjoy that game even today. However, the gameplay may be generic, but how does the actual Avengers play? Well, it's not great, but it's not bad. They all play differently, like Hulk smashes stuff and Iron Man can fly, but at the end of the day, there is only two missions which really stood out as unique to me for these specific heroes during the entire game, and that's what this game is based on, which is just a massive red flag. The gameplay feels like it should have been released 10 years ago, when the original Avengers movie released, because at the end of the day, you can play as Cap, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, etc., but the depth of the combat system feels so limited, desperately trying to trick you into thinking you're playing a different game with each hero, but that just isn't the case. Hulk is a massive brute, so surely he should wipe all the smaller enemies out easily, right? Nope. This giant green dude needs to smash them to pieces with 5 hits to take down one 6-foot average dude, and it just doesn't make you feel like Hulk. And the same could be said for every hero. Anyway, let's get back into the story. The plot is simple. The Avengers broke up after a major event which caused them to split, very similar to Civil War, only nowhere near as cool, and Kamala has to convince everyone to get back together to take out the next big bad. Now, I wasn't expecting an amazing plot, but this story has been done so many times and done way better even in game format, just without the giant IP that is the Avengers. The tremendous amount of talent in the cast of voice actors feels like it was wasted on a script that was thrown together in a couple of weeks, but even so, I couldn't help but feel like some were miscast, like Nolan North as Tony Stark. I love Nolan and I think he's a terrific actor, but he just didn't feel right for Tony Stark for me personally. And surprisingly, I actually thought Troy Baker was a great Bruce Banner, and easily had the best moments in the narrative. Unfortunately, the whole narrative feels like a Phase 1 Marvel movie that was just way too long. And the twist the Avengers do try to pull off are more predictable than the Arkham Knight twist, which is really bad. Music also feels generic as well, because nothing ever stood out to me, and with the Marvel films slowly getting more creative with its soundtracks, it was disappointing to hear such a generic soundtrack. The performances were great, but the majority just didn't suit the characters or was simply not creative enough. Visually, it's not bad at all and is nice to look at, but most of the time overall it just feels like a game from 2012, and it just doesn't feel like a good game back from 2012. There are a few missions I really enjoyed, but I will get into that in just a second. Now, a big part of a live service game is long-term content and the ability to keep things fresh, and actually the easiest way to go about this is to offer an in-depth customization for players to mess around with and earn over the course of the game. And the years after its release, and I simply couldn't believe how half-arsed the system actually was. Avengers does have customization for stats like damage, health, etc., along with a skill tree for each hero, but the customization isn't even shown cosmetically. I'm not kidding, everything you earn in this game doesn't affect how your Avengers look, completely ripping one of the most vital aspects of customization out of the game. I mean, I would have been able to forgive that if the stuff you unlock for your heroes actually felt significantly different every time you equip something new, but the stats barely change until you get to the final act of the game, so the only thing you can really go off is a level counter, and let's be honest, it's not exactly the most amazing feeling seeing the occasional level go up, especially after doing it for every single character in the game. Now, there are cosmetics, and you can already guess where. in the marketplace full of microtransactions, many of which are locked behind paywalls so you can't earn them at all. You still have to pay up to £15 or more to unlock one legendary skin, which is just absolutely atrocious in my opinion. When you have games like Spider-Man PS4 or PS5 now, as well as the Arkham series giving free skins out, you simply cannot compete against them when you're forcing players to pay for reskins. It's ridiculous, especially when you can't earn any of them through gameplay. I don't care if it's a live service game. No game aimed at kids, which is exactly what the Marvel IP is aimed towards, should design their whole monetization scheme on making kids want to spend money to look like the movie character. So the missions I did enjoy was the opening that you could play during the beta, and pretty much the only piece of gameplay that was advertised, and one Iron Man mission. That's all I really enjoyed from the campaign, and the endgame content only gets worse. I'm going to show you a quick snippet of the mission I actually enjoyed, and now that I look back at it, it's probably the only mission I actually enjoyed that surprised me, and I'm going to show you about a minute of gameplay, so you can skip it if you want, but I'm going to give you context.
Oh, hey, fellas!
I'm being really nice to this game as well. I haven't mentioned the awful performance on PCs and the clear lack of polish in many aspects in a game that was supposed to make millions of dollars. The skill trees do add some variety to the gameplay, but once again the heroes have different abilities, but at the end of the day you're still doing the same thing over and over again, only this character uses range attacks and this one relies on close quarters combat. That's it, I'm not kidding. Avengers is designed to suit all characters, making all characters dumbed down, making them less fun to use. The whole direction of the gameplay is just an absolute disaster. More content is coming like Black Panther's expansion, but realistically, how much change will that bring to the game? A new region to explore using the same characters with the same abilities, only this time Black Panther is playable for what will probably be 5 hours of new content. I know it's free, but when you're forced to pay for basic customization, is it really free? When you're faced to having to choose between basic customization or spending money, it's really not free. The whole scheme is there to make you spend money on a game you've already paid £60 for or $70 or whatever it is in America. It's really not free, and the free expansions that are coming out, yeah, they're cool. Black Panther is cool, but really it's been out for over a year. The Hawkeye DLC was awful, and the new Kate Bishop DLC was also pretty awful. So what do you really expect from this game now? It's really dead in the water. I don't think you should buy Marvel's Avengers in 2021, and it will most certainly not be a classic. Thank you for watching.